President Trump back to work this morning. One of the next items on his agenda, infrastructure. The commander-in-chief will meet with GOP lawmakers at Camp David this weekend to discuss plans to revamp the country's crumbling roads, airports, and bridges. Joining us right now is the CEO of U.S. Concrete. He is the CEO and president, Bill Sandbrook. Bill, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria.
Where does this stand from your standpoint? Where does President Trump need to begin?
Well, let's start with the needs. The needs are well established. Both parties have said that we have a $1 trillion plan in place, but the needs are $4 trillion. The American Society of Civil Engineers graded our infrastructure system at a D+. There's 56,000 deficient bridges in the country. The World Economic Forum stated that the U.S. infrastructure on a global basis has dropped to 16th in the world from number 5. The Business Roundtable of CEOs said that there's only 4 U.S. airports in the top 50 worldwide. I mean, those are compelling facts of the needs of the declining state of our infrastructure.
Bill, Mary Kissel here. Is that really from a lack of money or from all of the red tape that we put around building those roads and bridges? It takes sometimes 10 years to get a project to completion.
Sure, it's a combination of the above. The uncertainty of a 10-year planning process with the limited amount of federal resources just leads to uncertainty and to projects that get delayed, even in fact longer than the permitting process. But it does eventually come down to money. It's not a matter of will of the American taxpayer. 176 of 252 budget initiatives that were on the 2017 elections all passed. That's an 82% pass rate. 24 states in the last 3 years have increased their gas tax at the state level. 17 of those states have been led by Republican governors, and 7 states have been led by Democratic governors. So it's a bipartisan understanding that funds have to come from somewhere. And when the U.S. taxpayer can see a direct result of their investment in additional gasoline taxes, for instance, they're willing to support these initiatives.
With their gas taxes, Bill, at Steg and McDowell have already gone up at the state level. That's why you see some pushback at raising the federal gas tax, which I know hasn't gone up in more than 20 years.
That's correct. Since August 10th, 1993, to be specific, it's not been indexed for inflation. And if you remember, in August of 1993, this is how the world has changed. Apple stock was at $1.05, and Amazon did not exist. But we have the same level of federal gas taxes with 60 million more people in this country traveling on the roads.
Bill, one of my concerns is that should we get a giant infrastructure package, as Kevin Kelly, is that it could impact the pricing, especially of concrete. I mean, we see 83% of your revenues is coming from residential and commercial. Is there going to be an issue there with capacity constraints?
That's a very good question. I mean, prices have increased through the cycle since 2011, 2010 at the bottom. Labor has increased. The cost of cement, the cost of sand and gravel have all increased, and that has been pushed into the downstream markets. There can be there will be some inflationary pressures, but moderate. I mean, inflation right now is still at almost a historic low. Interest rates are still really low. I think what's happening now with the regulatory reform, the tax reform, and potentially an infrastructure bill is going to extend a cycle that's already extended because of the slow growth rate we've had through it. A 3% GDP with some inflation, I think, is good for the entire economy.
Now, you say that there are $4 trillion in needs of infrastructure in this country right now, but we're talking about a $1 trillion plan.
Right.
The president has been confident when it comes to infrastructure, but I wonder if the Dems are going to get on board. Listen to what the president said.
Infrastructure is by far the easiest. People want it, Republicans and Democrats. We're going to have tremendous Democrat support on infrastructure, as you know. I could have started with infrastructure. I actually wanted to save the easy one for the one down the road. So we'll be having that done pretty quickly.
So what do you think? Do you need the Democratic support here? Because we've been having a conversation all morning about the fact that the MO on the left has been obstruction and pushing back and hoping that this president does not get his agenda executed.
I understand that. However, this has to be a bipartisan effort. The needs are recognized by both parties. Both parties ran on a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. You know, it's time that that real leadership is shown in Washington. Since 1993, we've kicked this can down the road with both Republican administrations, Democratic administrations that have both the Senate and the House and the presidency on their side, and we're still kicking it down the road. And I think the American people are about fed up with it. You know, as far as on taxes, there's an unseen tax. There's $523 in additional repairs to your vehicles just because of the road conditions that we have now. Nobody talks about that. If we could make better roads and save people money on the repair and maintenance and the cost of gas so that their mileage is increased, they will get a savings.
Here's what's bipartisan, that neither Republican nor Democrat are going to step up and say, hey, we need to raise the national gas tax in this country because it's regressive, number one. And even the people who use the roads, they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for the infrastructure spending, even though at the state level they are paying more.
Well, they are paying more, and they're paying more in repairs and maintenance, as I said. But with 24 states, both Republican and Democrat, pushing some form of gas tax increase through, I mean, a minor amount of gas tax, 5 cents or 10 cents, indexed for inflation, will take care of this for a long, long time. The problem didn't develop overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight, but it is a matter of national priorities. It's that simple. If the American people and Washington do not think that infrastructure is a national priority, it will be kicked down the road again.
But Bill, it's always just a little bit more, 5 cents, 10 cents, a buck, $10.
Right.
Look, I mean, I hear you. Somebody has to pay for it, but you know what? We pay an awful lot for infrastructure in this country. The American people are overtaxed. Why not just take that money, send it to the states at the level it is now, cut the red tape, and let each state figure out what to do? You know, I hear all this talk about $1 trillion. We're going to get a lot of bridges to nowhere if we're spending $1 trillion.
Well, that is it's a possibility that kick that to the states. However, you know, President Eisenhower built a national infrastructure system. Roads don't stop at state lines, and priorities don't stop at state lines. There are obviously projects that can help a local population, but there's interstate transport. I mean, look at Amazon now. Look at how many goods are being moved to distribution centers. That's a national issue. That is not a local and state issue, but it is a combination. And there's other means too. It's not just a gas tax. There's not one size fits all. I mean, public-private partnerships will have a say in this. Budget initiatives at the local level will have some say in this for local projects, but it's a combination. It's not going to be one size fits all for finding this, but there has to be, you know, it has to be paid for somewhere.
Bill, real quick, from a business standpoint, what kind of a year are you looking for?
Well, we're very optimistic about the tax reform. That is going to give us additional free tax flow. Our backlogs right now are at a historical high without an infrastructure bill. So I'm very optimistic that we have some runway to go yet with this economy. All
right, sounds good. Bill, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.
We'll see you soon.
Marie.
Bill Sandbrook there. Still